be fair, it is big news in the SEC what happened to Brock Bowers right now. Bigger news, sure, than whatever Pitt State it might be, or I don't know. Like Maryland did something this weekend. Brock Bowers hurt, high ankle sprain. Georgia beats Vanderbilt once again in kind of unimpressive fashion. Hudson, I'll go to you here first. Let us know how big of a deal it is that Brock Bowers is now out for your Georgia Bulldogs. And then I know you wanted to ask Jake about what it can mean for Bowers moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a huge deal, obviously. I mean, I'm stating the obvious. This is a guy who you probably don't win the Auburn game without him. He is your best all-around player. And outside of a quarterback, he is a guy before his injury that I thought could be a dark horse Heisman, if not just at least get invited to New York. Now, that's not going to happen anymore. But just when Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator, and Carson Beck, a few games into the year, started to find a rhythm and started to figure out how to use Brock Bowers, he unfortunately gets hurt Saturday against Vanderbilt. It looks like he's going to be out a minimum of 4 weeks, maybe up to 6 weeks, which would put him back at the earliest against Tennessee in November, more like maybe the SEC championship game in Atlanta. So this is a huge loss. And I know I do radio here in Atlanta, Jake, and I know a lot of people, Georgia fans today, were wondering, with his projection of being probably a first-round draft pick, will Georgia fans even see him back? Would love to get your opinion on that. What would your advice be?
Yeah, so look, it's 4 to 6 weeks. Whether he's back in 4 or whether he's back in 6, the first week you're not going to be fully back. And I think you have to consider how special this guy is for every reason you just said, Hudson. Like, when you ask, hey, can you do your job? How good are you at doing your singular job? I don't know that there's a player better in college football at doing his job than Brock Bowers. He's that special. I think he's a top 5 pick in the NFL draft next year. So all that in mind, understanding his future, there has to be a consideration to say, man, we got to protect this. Because this guy has a chance to be one of the all-time greats in the NFL, even beyond college football. And I think Kirby Smart and Brock Bowers and those in his network have to consider that. I know Georgia has big goals this year, but this isn't a situation you want to rush it and risk further injury and further damage to his ankle. But it sounds like, hey, if Georgia's in a good position, they can get him back for the playoffs.
Does him already being a 2-time national champion, Jake, you think alter his perspective on coming back? Hey, I've got my 2 natties, like, as opposed to if he hadn't won one already?
Yeah, I think it definitely does. I mean, there's a lot of people that come to college and say, man, I'd love to win a national champion, and no one else has done that other than Georgia these past 2 years. They've been that good. But I still do know as a competitor, how rare is a three-peat, right? Like that's a conversation in his mind and in the rest of the team's mind. That is dominance that you rarely see in college football. So it alters it, but I still think he would love to have a three-peat if it all works out.
Joshua, I want to flip this to you next and to give us some defensive perspective here, because we got a bunch of offensive guys. And look, when I think about Bowers, everything y'all just said, you look at the production right now for Georgia. He's basically doubling up any of the other receivers and weapons on the team right now. On top of that, he plays tight end, right? We talked about it last week. He is an outlier at that position nationally. Like Ohio State to Boogie, he's the closest, and he's like way behind Bowers. Defensively, from a defensive perspective, can you just replace Brock Bowers' production by being like, oh, we'll just throw it more to Rosemary Jack-Saint, the wide receiver, and Ladd McConkey? Or are you losing just as much because you're losing the kind of unique nature of what a great tight end brings to bear?
Yeah, I mean, I think that those guys are going to have more opportunities, so they can make up some of the production. But there's also a reason why Bowers was the feature there, and I think it's the idea of the mismatch. And what stands out to me about his game is certainly they'll split him out. They'll put him in line. I watched on one play last year, I believe it was Kent State. It doesn't matter who it was. They hand him an end around. You don't do that with tight ends, right? That shows the type of athlete that he is. And I think about the game in terms of matchups. I also think about the game in terms of what defensive personnels have to do, right? So when you're playing a team and they have a tight end and he's not a big movement tight end, a lot of times you say, okay, we can get that backer out there and we can just go 1 for 1. When you're playing with a guy like Brock Bowers, you have the conflict of, do we need to have a safety, a tight end, or maybe even a cornerback on this guy? And then how many guys are we going to devote to him? Are we going to lean our coverage? Are we going to play brackets on him because he's that dangerous? And so now, to me, there are more resources that can be devoted to other parts of the Georgia offense, and I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for them.
I want to, just to continue off of that, just think about who typically has to guard a tight end. It's a linebacker and or a safety. And with those two positions, run support, particularly with linebacker, that's your first priority, right? Like if there's play action, you have to respect it and you're downhill to start the play. That first second is spent supporting the run. But when you're playing a guy like Brock Bowers, there is always a thought in your mind, like, I have to be aware where he is. And it's probably not just the linebacker or just the safety. It's probably both of them. With him out of the game, you could be a little bit late to coverage now because there's a significant drop-off from Bowers to the next guy.
I think there's an idea, to your point, that you can take the air out of the offense a little bit, right? I think things become a little bit stickier because you're not worried about that particular mismatch.
So Georgia already trying to do the impossible, and now losing what I believe to be the best Heisman candidate on their team, Carson Beck. Mike Bobo, you better be for real, because otherwise it ain't going to happen. So from one Heisman candidate to a Heisman winner, Caleb Williams goes into South Bend this weekend, and I got to say, boys, this did not feel like a good matchup for the Trojans from the beginning. Marcus Freeman's got a salty defense up there. They play coverage. I think they're like cover one main, and that's mainly what Caleb Williams has struggled against this year. And the Irish take advantage. Williams makes mistakes. It's a weird box score in that USC ends up with a bit more volume, more time of possession, but the Irish were excellent when it came to taking advantage of every situation, turning turnovers into touchdowns. Hudson, as our quarterback here on the panel, what did you see out of Caleb Williams' performance?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to an extent, this is kind of what we saw USC struggle with last year. I mean, he got sacked 6 times, right? And a lot of the running around, a lot of the feeling or seeing, shall I say, in the pocket instead of feeling the pressure. And as a quarterback, when you start to get hit and hit and hit, the natural reaction is you start to see things instead of feel things. And I thought a couple times, like, he left the pocket too early, and that's a byproduct of Notre Dame hitting him early and hitting him often. But, this was a guy who had been taking care of the football. He'd been seeing things. What it shows to me is that the Pac-12, I know this wasn't a Pac-12, purely a Pac-12 matchup, but the Pac-12 is a very deep conference. USC, Washington, Oregon. You could say USC is probably the 3rd best team out of those right now. I think Caleb Williams probably cost himself the Heisman Saturday night, especially with the interceptions. That was my biggest takeaway, but a really bad loss. I think the other thing I take away, guys, is like a lot of headlines, a lot of flash with USC, but not a lot of substance where it matters the most. And that's exactly what we thought about him last year. I
mean, they're still ass on defense. Alex Grinch always has been, and it appears that he always may be. I mean, at a certain point, Lincoln Riley's got to make a move. So Caleb Williams loses the Heisman. Hey, red corner, blue corner, boys, it's blind graphic time. That's right. Let's play the game again. Put up the numbers. Caleb Williams out. Here are 2 quarterbacks' numbers. Potential Heisman candidates. You see player 1 and player 2 there, both elite, both incredible. Joshua, who do you think is who here? Who would you take to win the Heisman?
I mean, we got a little bit more touchdown production over there for player 1, higher completion percentage, less yardage, but you like to take the scores.
You're leaving out one stat. What's a quarterback judged by? Where's the wins?
Whoa. Hold on now. Shut up, Jake. That is not the point. We are looking at numbers, okay? Look at these numbers right here. Who's player 1? Who's player 2?
That's a great question. Reveal them for me. I don't know.
Is it SEC and Big Ten? Okay.
There we go. Jayden Daniels is player 1. Michael Penix Jr. player 2. And I want to be clear about this up front, boys. We have fun here.
Yeah.
Michael Penix Jr. should be first in the Heisman race. Okay, I'm not saying that. What I am saying, and it's because Penix has the better wins, including just that absolute gem on Saturday, which is incredible, so much fun. But Jayden Daniels should be second in the Heisman race right now with the opportunity to move to first if that LSU team can come up with some big wins in Tuscaloosa, an SEC championship, if you look at total yardage, thanks to his rushing, Jayden Daniels leading the country at 400 yards a game.